Hello everybody, welcome back to another Media Moogle review. I am Ole Gamer Joe, doing something we've all been doing a little bit of lately, I feel like, soul searching. That is the name of the title we are reviewing today. It was originally released on Steam a few years back, but now has made its way over to the Switch under a new publisher, Nakana.io. This version of the game will feature a new patch and a new DLC as well, so that's exciting, and this will likely make it the definitive way to finally experience this game if you haven't already. And Soul Searching is a classic example of that old saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, because this game really surprised me in a lot of different ways and was not exactly what I was expecting, to say the least. Soul Searching is a survival game at heart with a narrative sprinkled throughout it in different areas that you will travel to, and they're sort of randomly presented at times that you wouldn't expect them to pop up, and little cutscenes that give more and more background on the character that you're playing as and how he came into this journey that he's on. You'll start your adventure on a tiny boat, but can collect gold by getting off of said boat, jumping into the ocean, and grabbing items to survive as well. And you have three main power gauges to be concerned about in terms of if you're going to live or if you're going to die in this title. You need to make sure that you have water, that you are fed, and that you get plenty of rest. You know, the basic necessities of life. There are a few ways to maintain your health throughout the game, which include trying to catch fish out of the water, or landing on random islands, of which there are a few to be explored that you can check out on a tiny little map as you float aimlessly throughout the giant ocean. Typically, these islands will have food, water, things that can replenish your health and your sanity, and interesting characters as well that you will meet that have really unique senses of humor in some cases, or just downright weird things to say. The game is full of heavier themes than you're probably expecting, which include murder, violence, sadness, depression, just to name a few. So while Tom Hanks had his buddy Wilson in Castaway, you have no such luck here, but you do have islands full of weirdos. Things even get a little bit stranger, if you can believe it, once dragons start getting introduced to the game, and magic spells as well. So this is not your ordinary out-of-the-box survival game. It really does take some creative risks that I think pay off in some pretty big ways. Outside of just trying to survive, the goal of the game starts to unravel more as you collect more maps on these different islands, and you find that you have to locate a certain island full of dragons in order to try and find some meaning to the main character's life. Outside of just trying to find enough food and water to survive, you will also have to contend with whales and other obstacles, such as these mentioned dragons that will attack your boat and set it on fire in some cases. But as you explore about using the game's handy little map system, you will find that you can purchase new boats using the gold that you have collected. Should you have enough gold, you can upgrade the boat and sail, hopefully with more success. Outside of the main storyline, which will take you about 3 to 3.5 hours depending on your skill level, there are some multiplayer components here to be found. The game actually supports up to 4 players, and using randomly generated maps, you will have to all work together to survive. Obviously, having more people involved means having to have more of a food supply, so it presents some unique challenges in regards to how you approach the game in the story mode. If you are a returning player wondering what's new in this version of the game, well, the patch is said to address some bugs that previously existed, and this title will now be bundled, if you choose to buy it that way, with a musical DLC that goes towards a great cause. Any revenue generated by this DLC will be distributed to the UN Refugees Agency. Players that own this DLC will get a music player, which includes up to 15 tracks from the story mode, plus 3 exclusive ones that are available now only to play in the background with this DLC. Which I should mention, it's a pretty nice soundtrack with some beautiful nylon guitar and some nice piano scattered amongst that really does help set the atmosphere and mood of the title for sure. So not only will you be getting access to some great music, you'll also be helping a good cause. One thing I do have to say is that Soul Searching is not a particularly good-looking game. It's a muddy mess of pixels and really does not stand out in any interesting way. It can be hard to make out details. I don't know if that's by design, but I was personally not a fan of the way this game looks. That said, however, Soul Searching definitely does a good job of getting into the player's head and tugging on their emotions without needing any sort of massive budget behind it, or fancy graphical tricks of any kind. In the end, it's what this game has to say that feels more important than how the game looks. And while it's a title that doesn't have the deepest survival elements or mechanics to it, it is by far the most captivating emotional experience that I have experienced in this genre so far. For more on Soul Searching and all of our other content, head on over to MediaMoogle.net where we have some great podcasts like the Gamer Joe Radio Show, a video game music podcast. And if you have enjoyed our video coverage today, please do hit the subscribe button below and help us bring a voice to the voiceless in gaming once again.